So we didn't answer that? You want me? I'll let you go first.
Now on Morning Drive, the biggest stars in golf team up for the ultimate battle in the Bayou. What duo will be leading the way as alternate shot kicks off in New Orleans?
Yeah, we play a very similar game and we like each other. That's a good start, right?
And for the first time since the incident at ANA, Lexi Thompson gives her side of the story that cost her a major championship.
It's always a dream of mine to just see myself jumping into Bobby's pond.
Can she put the past behind her and take aim at a title in Texas?
Plus, before he tees off with Henrik Stenson, Justin Rose joins us to give the core reasons behind his success on the course.
And get your brackets ready.
The Washington Huskies have won their first ever Women's Division I Golf Championship.
We reveal the NCAA Women's Golf Postseason Field live. We're coming out swinging on Morning Drive.
And good morning, welcome inside Studio AP. It's about team. It's always about our team, Damon Hack here, but in golf, it's about team. Not only at the Zurich Classic, but in 1 hour, all the teams for the women are going to find out where they're going for the regionals. Good morning, partner.
Good morning, pal. We love team golf. We had some success taking out Charlie and Carr at Chambers Bay. You carried me around for 17. I carried you on the 18th.
There we go. There we go.
Something like that.
Well, we'll see who's going to carry whom because it's alternate shot today, stroke play, pure. So that is what is happening now. The Zurich Classic of New Orleans is underway. Let's get to some early highlights. Some of the featured groupings are already out on the golf course. Let's start with Jason Day. We know that he's playing from the fairway. That means that Ricky Fowler hit a good opening tee shot. They started on the 10th hole. This is a birdie hole, really, when you're talking about your own stroke play, but this is an alternate shot, so he leaves himself about 15 feet.
And both Day and Fowler have top 10s on this golf course. Ricky Fowler already a winner this season. He won at the Honda, didn't miss many of these. This putt for birdie just slides by on the left. They would eventually make par and move on.
Yeah, that would be Jason Day who would have to clean that up. Now here is Henrik Stenson. He's playing their second shot, so Justin Rose put him in the fairway, his second to the 10th.
That skyscraper of an approach shot, Henrik Stenson and Justin Rose, definitely considered perhaps the favorite this week. Justin Rose, the gold medalist, Henrik Stenson, the silver medalist. Here's Justin Rose going to line up this birdie putt. He was the champion back in 2015 on this golf course. He sees the putt, working very hard on this part of the game, but he misses as well.
He did, and you know what he did? He started to walk toward the golf ball.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're inclined to do, because they'd be the one cleaning it up. But there you see, early on, the brothers, Brooks Koepka and his brother Chase. This is Chase's first PGA Tour start. He's doing with Big Bro.
Also underway, how about the Volunteers of America Texas Shootout, Las Colinas Country Club. Our coverage begins at noon, an early peek at the leaderboard. 3 tied at the top, including Christy Kerr, recent winner on the LPGA. She joined us a couple of weeks ago. Also in the field, yes, happening now, the world number 5, Lexi Thompson, in her first action since incurring that 4-shot penalty at the ANA Inspiration in Rancho Mirage, California. The penalty has been the talk of the golf world, but yesterday, Lexi Thompson did the talking.
Obviously number 17, I had that about 15, 20 footer for birdie, and you know, I hit a terrible putt, terrible first putt, and that was my 27th, 28th hole, and I got up to it, thought about tapping it in, but I was pretty mad after my first putt because I put a terrible stroke on it. It's like, Lexi, just relax, mark the putt. This is a major championship. You don't need to go up and miss this little putt. So I went, marked it, and then, you know, just took my time, took my practice stroke, and took a deep breath and made sure I made it. It was not my intention at all. I mean, I went up, marked it. Like I said, I did not want to go up and rush that putt. And the way I mark my ball with a dot, and that's where I focus my eyes on where I want to make contact. So when I went to mark it, I just rotated my ball to line up my dot to where my putter would make contact. You know, that's one of my favorite tournaments, and it's always a dream of mine to just see myself jumping into Bobby's pond. And I've worked my whole life to, have my name on major championship trophies, and especially that one. That's a very special week for me with all the history behind it, and I played amazing that week. I don't think I've ever played any better, and just for that to happen, it was kind of a nightmare. So, but it was still a very special week. It always is. I was determined to get back out and practice my game harder than ever and keep it in the spot that it is. And I've been doing just that. So it's just all a matter of just staying positive with it and knowing my game's in the spot that it needs to be. Well, I have seen the video and I can see where they're coming from with it. It might have been, I guess, me rotating the ball, but like I said, I have always played by the rules of golf. There's no need for me to improve anything. Those greens were absolutely perfect, and the whole week there was nothing in my line to be moving it from or anything. So, I have no reason behind it. I did not mean it at all. Golf is the only sport that call-ins are available to, and do I think it's right? Not really, but it's not my say. So, we'll see what happens in the future with it.
And we know that Lexi Thompson was prepared to get those questions, but you cannot simulate being introspective like she was, and all the emotions just flowed right out of her. Paige, in the aftermath of this happening, what doesn't sit well with you about all of this?
That it happened at all. For me, I have a big problem with the whole concept of a viewer call-in. I think people are trying to make golf perfect, and golf's not perfect. Sport is not perfect. And so that's what doesn't sit well with me. And unfortunately, she was a victim of that. And I thought she handled herself very well. And we got a chance to hear from her in a very raw state, even 3 weeks after the fact.
Interesting that you say she's a victim. I was tough to see her tears. I respect the fact that she says she hasn't played golf to that level, ever, and to not have the chance to win is heartbreaking for her. But the responsibility to mark your ball correctly is on her. I think the more information you have, the better. You're a high-profile player. She says her brothers have always emphasized the rules to her. She says her father says when you mark your ball, don't just carelessly sweep it in. Make sure you mark it and then, strike the putt correctly. So I feel bad for her, but I ultimately feel that the onus is on Lexi.
Yeah, and I can understand and appreciate that point of view. And I'll say this: this is a player that has an impeccable reputation. Christy Kerr said that Lexi Thompson is the most honest player out there. So there's not a situation where she's been involved in anything questionable in the past. She's always operated as a true professional when it comes to how she deals with fans and how she plays the game. So for me, the word you use there, careless, I think it was a careless mistake, and I think she paid a brutal price for it, an historic price. I mean, you look at major championship golf. Roberto De Vicenzo signed an incorrect scorecard, missing out on a playoff at the Masters. In 1957, at the Women's U.S. Open, Jackie Pung signed an incorrect scorecard. She had won the golf tournament by 1 stroke, the U.S. Women's Open, and then she was disqualified. So this goes down as a historic rules issue, no doubt about that. But I love the fact that Lexi sat in there and answered their questions and was honest and let that emotion flow, because for her going forward, I think it's really important that she addressed this. If she had tried to ignore it, I think it would have caused her a lot of problems with the media. But now she's got to figure out how to gather herself and move forward with her golf game. She can't beat herself up over it.
I think what's interesting is hearing the reaction to her peer group about what is essentially going to be known as the Lexi rule. And Paige, back to you. Going forward, does this provide clarity, or does it make it even cloudier about reasonable doubt?
I struggle. Number one, I appreciate the first half of that rule change, which was talking about if it's not visible to the naked eye. I can appreciate that because of Anna Nordquist's situation last summer at the U.S. Open. The reasonable judgment thing I actually have a problem with, because it takes the judgment almost away from the players in the group, which are responsible for refereeing their group, and gives it to a third-party official. In the same way that you see that in a basketball game where you have the player tips it out of bounds and says, no, it was the other way. I almost feel like that's because there is a third party that can make that differentiation. When you're required to police your group, I think is when you find the most honest outcomes, because reputation is everything in our sport. And you don't want to have any sort of bad reputation within. And so working it out in your group, I think, is the most responsible way to do it.
I'm with you on that in a perfect world, but here's the problem. Let's say that on a Monday or a Tuesday after an event, some video comes to light that goes around on social media and everybody picks it up of a player doing something that, they were intentionally cheating. Then it makes the game look bad. So it's a tough situation, and it requires a lot of thought to figure out, how as a game we handle situations like this.
Sure. Are you concerned about how she's going to handle this as a player, though, in the next time she's in a major championship, the next time she's at this tournament that is so important and beloved to her?
Well, it's a learning lesson, I think, for everybody in professional golf, because there is always somebody watching to the nth degree. And this is, again, why I have a problem with video review, is because it is the only, the highest profile players, it's the only ones that are on TV. I even have a problem with an official in the trailer, because, again, it's the standard is different for those on TV than those everywhere else.
Yeah. It is, but equity is not going to happen. It's too costly. Every player is not going to be shown. We know that. That
Correct.
will not change.
So the only way to make it equal is have each group police itself, which is where I stand.
And also, finally, the last thing for me, the physical act of the way she marked the ball. I think she was disoriented. You don't mark your ball that way. You don't mark your ball on the side. You always get behind it, so you have both of your eyes looking straight down the line. Nonetheless, her tee time today, as she gets ready to get back in competition, believe me, she is going to get so much support going forward, because a lot of people do feel like she does, that she is the victim. She'll be with Austin Ernst and Hana Zhang, and she tees off at 2:21 off the 10th tee, and our coverage begins at noon.
All right, also happening now, we're counting down to the NCAA Regional Selection Show, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. They're all trying to get there. Rich Harvest Farms outside Chicago, the site of the 2009 Solheim Cup, which was won by the United States. Lots of high fives between Michelle Wheat and Christina Kim that week. But next month, it'll be all about the college kids, and I know someone very interested in what's going to happen next month, our good friend and Golf Channel and NBC colleague, Mark Rolfing. Mark, good morning. It's great to talk to you about a place that's dear to you. Northern Illinois is the host school, Chicago, Rich Harvest Farms. What are you most excited about?
Well, I think in general, Damon, first of all, good morning. Just going home is incredible for me. I grew up about 25 miles from Rich Harvest Farms in the cornfields out in DeKalb, Illinois, and for me to now know that there is a facility there, capable of holding an event like the Solheim Cup and the NCAA championships is just beyond belief. We played on a little public course in DeKalb, and now we have one of the best courses in all of America. So just going home and seeing the excitement of Chicago for the best players in college golf to come. The town is really revved up. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I'll tell you, they are really on fire about this NCAA.
We know how well that golf course showed on TV in 2009, but it does have a very unique history in the course design. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, it's an interesting course because, Paige, actually there was no golf course architect involved. The owner and creator, Jerry Rich, basically built the golf course himself. And the way he did it was he built 6 holes first and literally had 3 different sets of tees on each one of those holes so he could create different angles on those holes. After he built the first 3, he decided, why don't I do 3 more and make it a front 9? Then he built a 10th hole, then an 11th, and then finally the final 7. And so it's sort of an eclectic grouping of holes. Because of that, there's no real what I would call overriding character. It's not really a links. There's some linksy style holes. There's some Parkland style holes. But more than anything, the shot values are just phenomenal and very difficult. The course rating is over 79. It's a very tough golf course. And strategically is going to be one that the players are really going to have to get prepared for. It is hard.
Mark, on that note, how does it compare to a concession, for example? We saw the kids really struggle on that golf course. They seem to find their footing a little bit more at Eugene Country Club. Just how difficult will it compare to those previous 2 spots for the NCAA championships?
You know, Damon, I think it'll be a little different than concession because there's probably a little more flexibility at Rich Harvest. They can set it up differently for different weather conditions and for different formats. It's going to be a totally different mentality, as it always is, for stroke play versus match play. I think you're going to have to see some pretty conservative play in stroke play because driving is so important, and you can really get in trouble at Rich Harvest. You're going to see a lot of laying up out there, I believe, because everything is about angles with this course. It reminds me a little of the TPC Sawgrass, in that if you miss those greens on the sides and get bad angles, you're really in trouble. It's the same way at Rich Harvest, so consequently laying up if you're in trouble short of the greens in a lot of situations is going to be the smartest play.
And Mark, you mentioned it, the difference between stroke play and match play. Of course, the most exciting television events of the season last year were and some of the NCAA championships that we saw. Talk to me about how match play strategy is going to take effect on this golf course.
I think it's sort of the Tommy Roy, our great producer at NBC Golf's philosophy. He loves making the hard holes harder and the easy holes easier, and I think that's what you'll see in match play. So I think you will see some holes that actually play quite easy, but there's a tremendous amount of risk and reward on a number of these holes that certainly will be created in match play. And the players, everything is going to be situational in terms of the decision. They're going to have to know exactly where they stand in the match, and they're going to have to know exactly where they stand on the hole in order to make the correct decision as to what they're going to do. It's going to be like 18 little mini tournaments. And I think they will be really surprised at how differently those holes actually show up in terms of length and angles. They'll be completely different from one day to the next.
Tell you what, from the kids to the college kids to the pros, I don't think anybody loves this game more than Mark Rolfing. Mark, thanks so much for your time. Have a great Thursday. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, that is Mark Rolfing. Let's say good morning to someone who's been waiting very patiently, Bailey Mosher. Good morning, Bailey.
Good morning, patient, but nice to be with you. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the tee sheet, what's coming up today. So all of hour two, we've already been teasing it. We will have the NCAA Women's Regional Selection Show unveiling the 72 teams who will be competing for 24 spots in nationals. But we're also going to throw it back to last year's NCAAs and relive all of the excitement and drama that led to Washington winning their first ever national championship in golf. And speaking of excitement and drama, remember when Justin Rose won the gold medal last summer? Well, that takes talent and being in great shape. So we're going to learn the moves Rose does to work on his core, and they are all things that you can do at home. No fancy equipment necessary. But it is a little fancy this week in New Orleans. A team event returns to the PGA Tour for the first time since 1981. And Gary Williams, well, he caught up with Alabama alums Bud Cauley and Justin Thomas earlier this week to find out how they partnered up for the Zurich Classic and some other intimate details of their friendship. We'll have the full piece later, but here's a preview snippet as we send you to break.
Bud, he's got you by how much?
Distance?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.